Hello everyone, welcome back to Path of Spirals Tarot. My name is Claire, and today we're going to be doing a grouped reading. If you're new around here, I have been reading cards for a very long time. As long as I've been probably a young adult. I got interested in all of this probably when I was in high school. It's been years since then. I am Reiki certified. I am a channel. I'm hyperverbal. I channel a lot through speech. What else? What else do you need to know? I just love helping people. I'm a life coach of a decade as well. And I had a call after I had my second child and I had some time off, to take care of my baby, to recalibrate and maybe just kind of transmute that energy into something different. So that's why I'm doing readings here on YouTube. And so far it's proven itself to be very energy giving and I've very much enjoyed it. Now today's reading, it's a little open-ended. It will be a 3-card pull with the Fountain Tarot. The Fountain Tarot, beautiful, beautiful deck. And then we'll also use some supplemental cards from the Alchemy deck by Kim Kranz today, if we want something more specific out of the reading. But sometimes less is more, So we'll do a card that represents like recent past, current energy and the change, and then like the most likely outcome. And then we'll see how specific we can get with it. So your job, viewers, is to just choose between an egg, 333, 3 birds, and we'll get going. Or if you just want to listen to the whole message, then just start listening and we'll make our way through each of the readings. But first we'll start with group 1, our eggs. You see I'm holding 2 of my fingers. I have a fireplace and I burned my fingers on a piece of wood this morning when I was getting my fireplace going because it's very cold outside, and now these 2 fingers are kind of spicy. So I'm also left-handed, so I'm gonna have to improvise a little. Okay, group 1. So first, what can we say about eggs? Eggs are very spiritually significant, whether the Ouroboros is wrapping itself around the egg. Eggs represent a very important part of the life cycle, something right about to be born. Eggs are full of nutrition. And I find something just so viscerally satisfying about eggs. They're just like one of my favorite aesthetic symbols. So if I had to choose a group, I probably would have chosen this one just because I live, laugh, love eggs. When I was in college, my friends used to like make fun of me, or my roommates used to make fun of me for how much I would like eat eggs in the morning. How many eggs I would make in a week. I did a lot of like egg and banana pancakes as a college student, because you get your macros and it's budget friendly. So let's give our deck as good a shuffle as we can give today. Look at the gilding on this. I just love this deck. It's relatively easy to shuffle. My only thing is that it's not the easiest of all the decks I have to shuffle, but I love everything else about it. I love the artwork. I love the gilding. I love just like the visceral, subtle ways that I connect with this deck and the way that I programmed it. I feel very connected to it. I'm a Sun, Moon, Libra, Leo rising, and Leos or Libras in particular are all about aesthetics. So like if my cards aren't cute, I don't want to play with them. I got the original RWS deck, and like the colorways of that deck, at least the one that was at my local bookstore when I bought it. Like, can we actually just take a moment? Because I keep it down here somewhere. Is it in here? Yeah. This is the, the Rider-Waite Tarot, just the typical deck. Guys, I don't like it. I'm kind of a card snob. There's just like the yellow coloring in these cards. I don't like them. Like the art itself is great, but there's a lot about like it's just so hard to look at. I don't like the way the colors clash. I hate that. I'm sorry, I don't like it. I've been thinking about getting the Centennial Tarot because it is like the same artwork but with just different colorways. But yeah, it distracts me so much. And if it's distracting you as a reader, like you can't be using a deck that just makes you feel icky. Pamela Coleman Smith, she did a great job with the art, but I don't know, like just even like, look at that, guys. Oh, that yellow, it just does something to my brain. I don't like it. Anywho, mini tarot review out of the way. We need to call in good protective energy. I call in God, Allah, Gus, Source, Universe, Allah, Hashem, however you connect to your God or however you connect. We are very inclusive here, but I want you to know when I call in a one source energy, and I call in archangels, angels, highest timelines, totem animals, spirit guides, ancestral energies for my lineage to help me give you the best reading that I can. I also put in a crystalline dome over the reading so that the good energies stay sacred and the bad energies stay out. Highly sensitive people like moi tend to have to continue with our protection in order to feel very connected to that energy that we are channeling. And we also don't want anything to come in that finds that attractive, that doesn't have good intentions for me, for you, the reader, listener, watcher. You might be reading this if you have subtitles on. Okay. Oh, geez, Louise, man, these cards are ready for me to pull them. They're like, stop shuffling me. So I guess this is your first card. Okay, so this is going to be kind of current-ish, recent past energy, something that's been on your mind, something that like is swirling around, but maybe you need to articulate about your life. And then we'll pull a card that represents like a transformation or an action you could take. And then a likely outcome. You know, when it comes to outcomes in tarot, you know, and just reading into the future, some people are really good at that. You know, and what I like to say about those that you should never let it make you lose agency over your life, because sometimes it's just giving you a likely outcome and you can choose. You can have a choice. You can make a change. You know, it doesn't have to be, nothing is like a permanently sealed. Like some stuff will happen regardless, but especially when it comes to like pulling minor arcana and things like that, you know, it's more about telling you like the current trajectory of the energy of the situation is going to continue, and it will most likely end up in this unless you take some action. And a lot of times we're pulling cards because we're trying to figure out how to take a different action, right? We're trying to figure out how to prepare ourselves. You know what I mean? So for those of us who want to have agency, we should never be worried about like future oriented cards. And also, I'm not one to ask weird questions about the future or things that just like we shouldn't probably know. And some things that I do know about the future, I often keep to myself because, you know, what's the point in telling other people? And that's like a special gift when you do sometimes get the future like revealed to you in a very cognitive way. But okay, we haven't even flipped over any of these cards. Anyways, let's see. Recent energy has been the moon. Oh, you're unsure about something. Something's been feeling off, a little bit weird potentially. Okay. And also, can we just take a minute? This is like my favorite moon card in any Rider-Waite deck ever. Like, even though this can represent something ambiguous or something concerning or something that you don't really, something beneath the surface, I love it. It's so awe-inspiring. I love the moon card. Okay, then some sort of transformation card given the first. 6 of Coins, that's about like charity, being charitable, knowing how to give and support outside of yourself. And then the outcome is the Knight of Wands, which would be about taking action. Okay, something feeling unsure in your psyche can be remedied by charity, by helping others, getting out of your headspace. And then the outcome is, I guess I would read this mostly as momentum. Like the Knight of Wands and just all the knights in general are very action oriented, even if they're not entirely sure what they're doing or why they're doing it. But like they're just going out and just putting in effort. And like one thing you should know about God is God loves effort. Any kind. Now for you, like I think there might be something you're hoping to kind of take action on once you feel clear on it, but you've been feeling like, oh, you don't feel that clear on it, and it's maybe been a while you haven't been 100% clear on it, you know. And since this is so action oriented and kind of about, you know, giving in the actual physical world, then something I would say about that is it might be about I don't know, I'm seeing just like getting outside of your house, getting out of your mind and going out and doing something. And if it's like maybe starting a new business or just doing something new, the way that I would read this is the mailman was going by. The way I would read this is, the big emphasis here is just on taking some kind of action. What this is bringing up to me is a story, or like something in Women Who Run with the Wolves, that book. If you haven't read it, you should. Is about how there are cycles of our lives where if we are to compare ourselves to wolves, where the way that we behave doesn't really make sense. Or if you watch a wolf, right? And it's out in nature, sometimes it's pouncing on seemingly nothing. It will run that direction. It'll run this direction. It will howl up at the sky. It'll howl at the moon. It will do sort of erratic behaviors that don't make sense until it starts to make sense. And that's because a wolf is tapping into its most primal instincts to suss out the energies around them in order to go in the right direction. And we, as individuals, as humans, or particularly women, we do the same thing. And there are times in our lives, whenever we're starting over in some ways, I might say that this is showing that you are kind of starting over. There's like a new reset in your life whereby you have to go through this sort of, well, and I guess the egg would make sense. You have to kind of like just come out of the chrysalis, just crack out open out of the egg. And you're sort of like, oh, like, who am I even? Like, what am I doing? I don't really resonate with who I was before. There's so much about that timeline that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Now, being where I'm at now, but I'm not entirely sure how to get to where I'm going. Now, just know that this is a very sacred place to be in. There's nothing wrong with being in this place, and it's a very important stage in getting started in something new, and you can't bypass it or downplay it or say it's not important or get too hung up on the outcome. Okay, but something else tells me here that one of the ways that you can step into this next phase of your life is about giving more than you're taking. And it might have been that in this transitionary period, you needed help from other people, but now it seems like things are perhaps settling a little bit, because to go from this place with the moon where things don't feel very like certain, to being in a place where now it's actually like you feel grounded in yourself. It's not about just giving actual money, but it's about knowing that you're not in survival mode anymore. You're just like, I'm ready to show up in my community, or show up for my family, or just show up in some way whereby you are giving something of yourself. So this is kind of a good thing. It seems like your cup is kind of refilled and you're kind of twiddling your thumbs a little bit and you're like, well, I don't know what I should do. And the Knight of Wands says, just do something. Like even if you, because something might be here is like if you're kind of perfectionist, or like you're one of those people that needs to know 100% why you're doing something before you do it. If you are just sitting and maddeningly kind of going around being like, I don't really know what it is I should be doing, then just try to do something. Don't take yourself so seriously. The Knight of Wands is just happy to be here. He's like, I'm just gonna go for it. Like, what is that in track and field? Javelin? Has he ever thrown a freaking javelin in his life? He doesn't really look like he's ever thrown it. He doesn't look like a master in throwing the javelin. And I mean, I'll bet that could be dangerous to just like take action when like you don't have the skills. He has some skills, but it's like he's kind of new at it. But he's eager to start. Okay? So allow yourself to be one of those people that gets an impulse to go out and try something new, and just try it. At least do it for the plot. You know what I mean? Something else I'll say is that if you're one of those perfectionists, like one thing that you can do, not to rip on anybody here, but I'm going to rip a little bit. There are people in basically every realm of life that have a product that they're making, a service they're providing, something that they're doing. And there are people who are making a living doing those things, or making side income, or just showing up in the world doing those things. And maybe it's their best effort, but it's not very good. There are a lot of people making money doing stuff when they're not even that good at it. And you're one of those people that seems to me like you're probably quite good at it. You're quite good at anything that you could try, so don't feel like there's like so much competition in starting something new. You know what I mean? There are people who are just out there, and like I said, God just rewards your effort. People are out there putting like minimal effort into things, or people who maybe aren't that smart, just going out and doing things. People who do things get something in return all the time. So don't be too in your mind. Just go out and have like this idea of just giving, like what could you do to give? What skills do you have that you could help somebody with? And just go out and do it. And so what? So what? Can you stop here and imagine for a second what happens if you go out and like go try something new. Go get a new hobby. This indicates maybe just, I don't know, literally going and giving to charity, or taking up some new work, or helping a friend out on the weekends, whatever. What's the worst that could happen? You know what I mean? And if you did it with a good intention, like God also loves when you help other people out when you have the ability to do so. So like even if it doesn't pan out to becoming like such a super serious thing, you know what? Sometimes life isn't that serious. It doesn't have to be that serious. You know, and sometimes if you're feeling stagnant and unsure, you have to move from a place of play and curiosity and openness, and not let that part of your mind, that parental archetype in your mind, make so many rules and boundaries about how you're allowed to play. You know what I mean? So maybe we can pull, I'm gonna put these to the side for a minute. Let's pull just like one of these guys here. Let's pull the top card. I already shuffled these. Jupiter. Yeah, so expansiveness. We love this. Okay, put this underneath. We'll put it on top. Put it back. So Jupiter represents the Wheel of Fortune, a positive outcome on something, or the expansion of an energy. And something tells me that when you take action with, you know, with this sort of charitable giving mindset, like the expansion will be rapid. Okay, so it's really more about a mindset shift more than it is about anything else. Like you're ready, willing, and able, fully capable, but your mindset and your attitude needs to have a perspective shift in order for things to unfold. Right? And Jupiter expands anything. So you have a choice here. Like you either take action and you see things transform and unfold in your life in new duplicitous ways, or you stay here, which it's not likely, but if you do, then that will just expand and you'll just have more of this, more being unsure, but it'll get really painful and you'll suffer a lot. So if you don't want to suffer and remain stagnant, take action with good intention. That's all I'm really going to say about group 1. That makes sense for an egg. This was like the most egg reading a person could get. What if we put the egg over the moon? See how that changes it? What if there was an egg card in the Major Arcana? If I ever make my own deck, maybe it'll be called the Egg Tarot, and I'll add an egg arcana. Mark my words. Look for it in the future. Okay, Bio. Okay. All right. Hello, group 2. My angel numbers. We're all a sucker for a good angel number. I'll tell you that. Okay. What does your highest good reading have for you today? Let's pull a card for recent past vibes that have been at the function. Let's find an initiation card, a change card. I see it. Likely outcome card. Oh, she's like, pick me. Simple enough. Recent past, 9 of Cups. Not a bad card. Not a bad card. Most of the time. 5 of Swords reversed. Kind of like that card in reverse for you. Oh no. Unclear outcomes. I forgot to pull this out of the deck. Okay. Okay, but that's usually a sign too. I forgot to take it out. Unclear outcome. Spirit, why are you doing me like that? They said always remember to check the deck. Always remember. Oh, we like that. Queen of Coins. Okay. Okay, so 9 of Cups to me represents coming into some sort of emotional and spiritual fulfillment in many facets of life, like many things. Like this is basically saying, I feel like this is, okay, I already see forewarning card here. Forewarning spread for your highest good. You have a lot of blessings, lots of them. He doesn't even know which one to hold. He's like, I got so many. And we love that. We love when God gives us many things. And really what we're all chasing in life, anything that we want in life that's like physical, is because we're really chasing an emotion. We're really chasing to feel the way that he feels in the 9 of Cups. And it only gets better. 9 of Cups and 10 of Cups are basically the same, but 9 of Cups is about like an individual abundance within this realm, this dimension of cups, and 10 of Cups is with another person. Okay, so he's pretty satisfied. It kind of gives me in its own way though, this kind of sense of instability. It's a little bit like the 4 of Pentacles in the sense of like, it sort of feels, this card always feels a little bit like manic and miserly. Sort of like coming into this abundance wasn't something that was perhaps always there in life. It's been like a more recent thing. So this, I always feel like I need to tell people when I pull this card, like, remember to ground yourself within this newfound, like, these gifts that you have. Ground yourself and protect yourself. Yeah. Now, with the Five of Swords in reverse, like, there's, this tells me that there are people, individuals, the external environment is sort of challenging what you have. And people are like this all the time. I feel like one of the biggest lessons in tarot, with especially with having the whole suit of the swords be about conflict with others and with yourself. Like that, like swords is, sure, it's about logic, it's about communicating, but like conflict is like the biggest thing that comes up with those. And we always need reminders about how and when conflict might show up in our lives and like what it could potentially cost us. Now, when it's upright, this card is, I always call it like the narcissist card. You're not a narcissist just because this card gets pulled. But what is narcissism? Narcissism is this malignant manifestation of the ego that has not been humbled. It has not basically, like, people who get stuck here, they get to this point and they never work past it. It's like, this is a very healthy part. Like, I've always said this about like ego in general. The Five of Swords is a very healthy place for the ego to be for a short period of time. It's when you throw a pity party for yourself. It's when you have a big blow happen, something happens to you, and your ego will just scramble and get desperate for a minute before other energies come and take in. It's like an immediate sort of survival thing that we do. Sometimes it's a bluff. Sometimes it's actually very important survival skill to have this. We don't have it for no reason, right? But this is about, winning the argument in the short term, but losing the war, losing in the long term upright. But in reverse, I'm actually kind of interested in what this could potentially mean, because Five of Swords in reverse, we can read that as an unlearned lesson from the prior card, which would be the Four of Swords upright, which is about taking a break and relaxing and withdrawing. And pulling this in reverse would also represent potentially, a blockage to this card. So, but it's kind of a good thing. If you're feeling blocked from participating in an argument or trying to prove yourself or win over people in your environment because you feel threatened, or you feel like they have threatened some sort of like hierarchy, or they've just stirred the pot, the medicine is saying to actually withhold and just remain calm, composed, and just let people tell on themselves and just kind of move on. When I read these cards together, it says this energy, you can keep this kind of energy, and I've experienced this as well. You'll keep this energy of like emotional, spiritual fulfillment and abundance. It will stay and renew itself when it gets to feel coveted. It's many of us who are quite open individuals, like neurodivergent people too, who have yet to learn some street smarts, like often just want to tell people the good things that happen in their lives, because when somebody tells them good news, like in general, like especially like I used to be like this too, if somebody told me good news, I was mostly just happy for them, and because I just want everybody to have a good time, right? But not everybody wants you to have a good time, and other people who need an attitude adjustment themselves, like if we read this as like other people are kind of behaving like this, when people need an attitude adjustment, like, and they don't do it, then their misery flows out of them and like stains everything else. And I've also said this too, is like, just because you have a good heart and your good heart is reflected in what abundant gifts you have, emotionally, spiritually, familial wise, relationship wise, like your good energy is not immune to a dirty environment, like an environment that wants to be toxic or whatever. And if you just get close enough to it, like say for example, just because you're a good person and you go to Chernobyl doesn't mean you're not going to get radiation. Like the goodness in your heart doesn't cancel out the radiation. Don't go to Chernobyl. It's kind of similar thing with people on a lesser scale. Heart purification is a super important aspect of my spiritual practice, and it's something that will also help keep these vibes at the function for you. So just be mindful of who and how and where you share what you have. because coveted energy is not a bad thing. It's not about like restricting and withholding and being sneaky. It's just about knowing how to have discernment about who gets to know about what you have and what you don't have. Because the default for most people when we live in a society, where there's a buttload of untreated mental illness, there's a buttload of dark energy alongside the beautiful light energy, but there's a lot of that darkness as well. Like, you are participating and showing up in a world that has a lot of that unstable energy. And like, sorry, you're not a god, so you don't stand a chance if you're putting yourself into the wrong environments. Okay? Now, the outcome of laying low, pulling back, keeping your blessings is the Queen of Coins. And the Queen of Coins really represents somebody who has developed the skills to be the container for abundance in every facet of life, but particularly with money, with just like beautiful luxury and a good way of living in life, feeling rich in life and being the source of that richness for her family. Like, that is the Queen of Coins energy. And that is the outcome by the repetition of this lesson I gave you. Continuing to acquire blessings, but keep them coveted is the vibe here. Now I have a card and I already shuffled this alchemy deck here to see if there's any additional message here for the highest good reading for group 2. And it's going to be winter. This is one of the 4 seasons in the alchemy deck, and wintering is also about laying low, hibernating, and keeping to yourself. And we actually are still in winter right now. You see that there's like the North Star within the tree. But the tree is also isolated. And I think it wouldn't be a bad thing to read a little bit about what winter is saying. Winter is coming. Let's see. 117. The 4 seasons. Lux brumalis. Winter. The solace, the pause, and the hermit. The activity within dormancy. In alchemy, winter comes first. It's the beginning, the origin. As winter casts its blanket of stillness across the land, we naturally turn inward. The mind and heart settle into Earth's darkest season. From this place of quiet, a single flame reconnects us to the mystery of our existence and the miracle of the breath. Regardless of when this card appears, it indicates we are suspended in Mother Earth's pause. This is not the time for doing, going, or getting. The alchemist knows winter opens the portal to the divine. Magic is afoot under the surface. In the glimmering snow and sparkling ice, we see winter's water in crystalline form, each droplet a prism in the mystic realm. Don't get caught up in the gloom or isolation of this season. Rather, spin toward the sacred light. Spring will come in time. Winter is ruled by the element of water and the cardinal direction of north. Notice if this card appears with other cards with a watery or wintry feel. Choose your first card here. And then it is said winter is the pause between exhale and inhale, the time when all has released yet new breath has not been drawn. Notice the qualities of this sacred pause. It's also thinking about your breath is a powerful thing. To exhale, there is that sort of liminal, subtle, spiritual space between the exhale and the inhale. And that is also like a very coveted, sacred area between life and death, you know? And emotions and spiritual energies also like to kind of take on that energy. All of the beautiful gifts we have come from the subtle. They come from the divine as well. So I think it's a beautiful message. And it is currently winter as I'm giving this reading. So I feel an emphasis to just warn you. Be wary of who you share and what you share your things with, okay? We all love to think that everybody that's in our life currently really loves to see us win. I wish it was true. Thank you, group 2. Okay, group 3. What's up, group 3? Me looks maxing with my hands. What if I did the things that influencers do on TikTok? Me eating something. You guys are signing off. Nobody's listening to this already. You're like, as I've had enough of that. You didn't come to a long form YouTube video to see any of that garbage. Anyways, Three birds flying high above the sky. Maybe your totem animal is an eagle or a seagull. You know, beggars can't be choosers. Anyways, let's get some cards rolling for group 3. I guess this is your first one. Recent past, issue, problem, conundrum, things you've been pondering. A present energy that's going to be medicinal, transformative, something to be aware of. Hello. Potential transformation of the vibe. Hello. Okay. Let me see. Oh, and before we do that, let me just shuffle these because we'll probably pull one. I pulled one for group 1 and group 2. Yeah. Good. Those are shuffled for when we need them. The moon reverse. Y'all, I pulled moon upright for group 1. She's back, but in reverse. 6 of Cups. Nostalgia and reminiscing. Going back to a simpler time. Ace of Coins, a blockage about a new opportunity. Okay. Okay, group 3, are you a little bit unsure of some things? We're a little bit... Well, oh, okay, so the moon in reverse is, like, the moon in reverse could be about something coming to light and being shown to us, because the moon upright is about, like, things below the surface, things not being as they seem, but a reversal of that could potentially be that. Let's see what the Fountain Tarot says. Honestly, I don't think I've really pulled the moon in reverse much in my life, so I'm sort of like, huh? I have learned about all of them, but learning them and actually pulling it in a reading are two separate things. Reversals, instability, impatience, and unwillingness to be truthful, barren stillness, misplaced fantasy. What really stands out to me there is a misplaced fantasy and potential limerence, my girls and guys, and theys. And that's just an intuitive hunch. An intuitive hunch. Limerence is... or just being in a fantastical mindset is a coping mechanism when you don't have better mental health tools at your disposal and or potentially medication. I'm not diagnosing you with anything, but it does seem you're in a mental place that's probably not the greatest. And we're talking about the remedy being the 6 of Cups. Now, 6 of Cups is all about nostalgia / going back to a simpler time. So I sort of feel like already the cards are saying that you can still reminisce. It's okay to go back and look at the past. But the mindset of the 6 of Cups is a lot healthier than being in the mindset of the moon reversed. I mean, like, look at the moon and the sky being, like, that's so disorienting looking at that. And, like, limerence and destabilizing fantasies make you feel that way. They're really activating to your nervous system, and they're usually indicative of trauma that hasn't really been processed. So I feel like that is kind of what's showing up for group 3. And that maybe we need to return back to childhood and to the source. So on the one hand, we can turn back and like listen to the inner child. What were some memories from when you were much younger that bring you comfort? I also see this as like, I think sometimes a healthier coping mechanism for trauma, for like an immediate handling of the trauma sometimes, is to go into a state of regression whereby you watch movies that you liked when you were younger, or listen to music, or routines and simplifying and like thinking about things that have been reliably comforting for you throughout the years. That could also be like a homemade meal that maybe your mom or dad used to make, grandma used to make. It can be about like look, they're drinking like tea. What is that they're drinking? I don't know, they're sharing like a bowl of Brussels sprouts. Did you I don't know if I want to reminisce on Brussels sprouts. My grandma used to make Brussels sprouts really well when I was a kid. And if I ever wanted to have Brussels sprouts again, I'd probably want them prepared that way. But I don't know, it's not my favorite, not a core memory from my childhood is eating Brussels sprouts. But anyways, we need to be, when people have like a deep sense of limerence, like that is definitely a mental health issue sometimes, most of the time, and or can represent, it might not be limerence. It could be limerence. Some of you might be limerence. Some of it can be maladaptive daydreaming, which is very like autism-centric, neurodivergent, highly sensitive, baddie oriented. In its shadow side is maladaptive daydreaming, dissociation, not being fully present in your body, not being embodied. is where you have been. And maybe, coming back through a sense of what brings you comfort is like how you get embodied again. I'm trying to think back too about like when I've been through phases of my life where I was also feeling out of touch, dissociated. I had this when I was postpartum with my first child. I had like trauma from giving birth, and it wasn't ever properly handled until much later. And I just sort of thought like, that's just how it is. That's just how it has to be. And I dealt with bouts of limerence. I dealt with mad dissociation. It was like looking at me was like lights on, nobody home. And that was based in trauma. Like it wasn't an inherent character flaw. It was just a trauma response. And I didn't know it at the time. It was a trauma response coupled with a lack of information about the situation that I had just been in and how to properly metabolize and like alchemize the situation. I started actually coming out of this place intuitively before I started going to therapy and getting many more tools years later. I started macro dosing reishi mushroom because reishi is like considered like the queen of the forest. And it's one of those things that's adaptogenic, so it also puts a sheath on your nervous system that helps your reaction to stress be much, much lower. And it also has this inherent visceral feeling of self-reverence. You will take it and you will feel like the queen of the forest, the way that reishi has been coined the queen of the forest. So I started looking for new tools at that time. Reishi was a really big thing. I macrodosed it for 1 full year and I always felt amazing. And it just kind of fell out of my life when I felt like I didn't really need it anymore. I would totally be open to doing it again because it's not hallucinogenic or anything like that. But yeah, that was a time where I needed to have as many allies on my side to pull me back to earth and feel like life here was good enough to be here and that being in my body felt good. So taking a mushroom that is supposed to make you revere being alive in your body, that helped a lot. I also felt like after I had this period in my life that had me constantly dissociating and I just didn't have the tools or the capacity, it was just not the time to like ascend and fly high. That went on for some years. There was sort of a divine timing to being ready to face the music, and things had to get a little bit worse before they got better. And they did. My fourth house astrologically is in Scorpio, and I have a stellium of planets, so I learned like all of my life lessons through family and private taboo matters. Girl, if you only knew. So things kind of got like significantly worse before things really all came to light. But one of the things that really helped was actually like this kind of energy. It was like relying on what is reliable, being I love watching Twilight, for example. You got me. I'm a millennial. Like rewatching that, making the same kind of smoothie every day is something that calms me. Talking to my siblings about things, funny memories that we have, just like little joyful moments, okay? Because not every day has to be hard and not every day is going to be super amazing, but there's a little hard in every day and there's a little bit of beauty in every day. And nostalgia is a powerful drug. It's a powerful drug, but when used properly, it can really help us look forward to the future. Same thing too, if maybe you're having kids, like a lot of like the maternal, postpartum energies as a woman have been coming in for me, at least anecdotally, to reference these cards. So maybe for you as well, having children and like that postpartum energy is very relevant for you. Think about too, like what kind of energies and memories you'd like to give your kids. That can also be very healing. Now, that was a lot. We pulled a lot. We've said a lot here about these two cards. Now, the Ace of Coins being in reverse tells me that the outcome after kind of shifting with all of this is there is an opportunity, something really great wants to come in, but it is still somewhat blocked. And maybe we pulled this card on top and we kind of see if they go together. This is the Sun's Splendor. Wow, look at that. Like diamond rainbow. There's a lot going on in this card. The Sun's Splendor. Let's read in the Alchemy deck. I haven't pulled all these cards the way that I have my archetypes from her. This is a newer deck for me, admittedly. But let's see. The Sun's Splendor is going to be page 195, and it's one of the 22 mysteries. 195. Okay, the Sun's Splendor. Generosity, health, and abundance. Revel in the glory of splendor, solace. There are several cards in the Alchemy deck that relate to the sun, yet this card specifically depicts the long-term effects of its radiance. Think abundance, fulfillment, and altruism. Envision celebration and collaboration. But is it possible in our complex world? The sun's splendor says yes, one day and one ray at a time. When Splendor Solis arrives in the laboratory, the alchemist realizes that kindness and generosity are the secret ingredients. All other paths fall away. Through giving back to others in the world, we become more like the sun itself, radiant light and expecting nothing in return. Don't know where to start? Think someone. Then think another person. Soon the alchemist finds they are not alone in their laboratory and miracles arrive both small and large. Ponder the divine masculine. The sun's splendor is a card that indicates long-term, overarching success and health, though it is practiced daily. It accumulates in an ongoing narrative for the querent. Scarcity often prevents us from feeling the sun's abundant splendor. Give freely today. Give anonymously even. Then take note of how you feel. Great advice. This feels like a synthesis of both the Group 1 and Group 2's readings. So you might find something useful from both of those if you go back and listen. If your intention was only to listen here, because we pulled the moon. And then there was also... one of the cards was the 6 of coins for one of my groups already, and that's about generosity and giving. So I feel like these two cards, when in their shadow, keep this blocked. But when we get out of like the sort of limerence, dissociation, we have properly integrated, different tools, healing methodologies, nostalgia properly being one of those things. Then it allows this card to be the way it wants to be. Because one of the of all the cards in the tarot, the ones that I think hate to be upside down and reversed the most, like they don't like being there, is an ace of any kind. The Ace of Coins, it's like top heavy as heck. It's like, please let me, like taking off a tight pair of pants. Okay, so it's really about your mindset that can get this card to be upright, but pulling it in reverse is saying that it's going to take very considerable, concerted effort on your part to get there. And you can do that through a change in perspective, and by giving, for sure. Like, people don't really understand the spiritual dimensions of giving to charity, especially because, like, a lot of Abrahamic representations of charity is, like, vested interest, it's behind paywalls, there's money laundering, and it's also one of those things where people give and there's, like, virtue signaling, and they're like, oh, look at, I gave to charity, and it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, right? In reality, giving is one of the ways that we put ourselves into divine flow. And also think that the creator's extremely giving, and when we take on different aspects of the creator, we become more like ascended in ourselves, and it purifies our hearts to give. You always feel super good. Like, I feel just as good giving a gift as I do receiving a gift. So, but when we're in survival, when we're like, things are not well with us, and we go through these phases where we just don't, we don't feel like we are capable of giving, like you might be more in a receiving phase, like, just know that that's also not a character flaw. It's a trauma response. Like, it is very natural for humans to be giving and abundant. The world naturally is abundant and giving. The systems and structures in place unnaturally restrict those energies from flowing, and it's our duty as human beings, as denizens of the earth, who are becoming more self-aware and working on ourselves, to implement this wisdom on our own. Because as an adult, we have to recognize that, like, everything that happened to us is not our fault, but it is 1,000 billion% our responsibility to take care of what has happened to us and take care of ourselves the best we can. And then we can be flying high like the birds. Okay, guys, that's Group 3's reading. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching today's reading. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this long form reading today. You can find me here at Path of Spirals Tarot. My name is Claire. We look forward to seeing you 5 days a week here on the channel, whether it's a short or a long form pick-a-pile reading. And there's more to come in the future. Also, leave a comment if you have any kinds of readings you'd like to see me do again, or a new one I've never done before. I appreciate your feedback. All right, as always, have a great day. Bye.